My name is Joe Latavius, and I am the narrator of The Adventures of the Dark Hunter. The story today is sad, but at the same time, it is very disturbing. In the quiet town of Rincon de Romos, nestled in the heart of Aguascalientes, there lived a young girl named Alexandra. With her almond-shaped eyes and a soft, melodious voice, she was adored by everyone who knew her. Alexandra was known for her kind heart, always helping those in need and offering words of comfort to anyone in distress. Every night before bed, Alexandra knelt beside her modest wooden bed, clasping her small hands in prayer. She would thank God for her family, her friends, and the beauty of the world around her. But it was the final part of her prayer that caused a stir in her family. "Dear God," she would whisper softly, "please take care of Lucifer. I know no one else prays for him, and he must be so lonely. Help him find peace, just like you help us." Her parents, humble and devout people, were horrified the first time they overheard her prayer. Her mother, Maria, sat her down at the kitchen table the next morning, a deep worry etched on her face. "Alexandra, mi amor," Maria said gently, "why do you pray for Lucifer? He is the enemy of God. He doesn't deserve our prayers." Alexandra looked up with her innocent eyes and said, "But Mama, doesn't God ask us to love everyone, even those who are lost? Lucifer must be the most lost of all. Maybe if someone prayed for him, he wouldn't feel so angry or alone." Her father, Raphael, who had been listening in silence, crossed himself nervously. "Daughter," he said firmly, "there are things we cannot change. The devil is beyond redemption. Leave his fate in God's hands." But Alexandra, with her unwavering innocence, simply nodded and continued her nightly prayers for Lucifer. As weeks passed, strange things began happening in their home. Candles that were snuffed out would flicker back to life. Shadows seemed to stretch and twist unnaturally in the corners of the room. One night, as Maria passed by Alexandra's bedroom, she heard what sounded like a faint, low voice murmuring along with her daughter's prayers. But when she opened the door, she only saw Alexandra, peacefully kneeling by her bed. Maria and Raphael decided to visit the town priest, Father Ignacio, a wise but stern man. They told him about Alexandra's unusual prayers and the unsettling events in their home. Father Ignacio frowned deeply and said,
"Children often see the world with a clarity we lose as adults. However, praying for Lucifer, it is dangerous. It's dangerous. I may interpret her prayers as an invitation."
The priest agreed to visit their home that evening to bless it. As he sprinkled holy water and recited prayers, Alexandra watched from the corner, her expression calm and curious. When he finished, Father Ignacio approached her. "My child," he said, kneeling to her eye level, "why do you pray for Lucifer? Aren't you afraid of what he represents?" Alexandra smiled softly. "Father, I pray because no one else will. If he is so bad, it must be because he has never known kindness. Maybe one prayer can help him remember what it feels like to be loved." The priest was taken aback by her words. Though he couldn't condone her actions, he couldn't argue with the purity of her heart. That night, as the family slept, Maria dreamed of a vast, fiery landscape. In the center stood a tall, shadowy figure with piercing eyes that burned like embers. The figure knelt before a glowing light, and a single tear rolled down its dark cheek. When Maria awoke, she felt a strange sense of peace. Though they couldn't explain it, the strange occurrences in their home ceased. Alexandra continued her prayers for Lucifer, undeterred by fear or doubt. To this day, some in Rincon de Romos believe that her prayers reach places no one else has ever had, touching even the coldest and most forgotten heart in the universe. And while no one truly knows if Lucifer can change, one thing is certain: Alexandra's pure, unwavering compassion reminded everyone in the town of the true power of forgiveness. One night, the vibrant and cheerful girl began to feel weak. Her energy gradually faded, and despite the doctor's best efforts, her condition only worsened. Alexandra, however, didn't seem afraid. From her bed, she smiled gently and reassured her parents. "I'm happy, Mama," she whispered softly. "I've already been to a beautiful place. Don't be afraid for me." Her parents, Maria and Raphael, were devastated. They prayed endlessly for a miracle while caring for their daughter. But Alexandra's words only deepened their fears. Had her spirit already visited heaven? Did this mean she would soon leave them? Days passed, and Alexandra succumbed to her illness. The house was filled with an unbearable silence, but the tragedy didn't end there. The family of modest means couldn't afford the funeral expenses. Despite their grief, Maria and Raphael desperately sought help, but their efforts bore little fruit. One day, as they tried to arrange the simplest funeral they could manage, a man appeared at their door. He was tall, with a solemn and sorrowful expression. Without much explanation, he offered to cover all the funeral expenses. Though embarrassed to accept help from a stranger, Maria and Raphael eventually agreed, wanting to give their daughter the farewell she deserved. At the funeral, the man was ever present. He watched Alexandra's coffin with profound sadness, as if the loss were his own. When it was time to carry the coffin to the cemetery, the man approached the parents with tears in his eyes and asked if he could carry it himself. Surprised and uneasy, Maria and Raphael agreed. The man lifted the coffin with a tenderness and reverence that seemed more fitting for a close friend than a stranger. After the burial, as the coffin was lowered into the ground, Maria, moved by the man's actions, mustered the courage to ask him, "Who are you? Why are you so affected by our daughter's passing?" The man paused, turned slowly to face them, and with tears streaming down his face, replied in a broken voice,
No one ever had cared so much for me.
I must confess that this story has left me with a bittersweet feeling. An innocent girl worried about a being of darkness. I can't imagine the pain and horror her parents felt upon hearing the mysterious man's response. It is said that from that moment on, nothing more was heard about the family, but this is a case that Dark Hunter must investigate.